Excuse me while I play this video game. This is upside down. Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian, I'm Ian the Reader, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about books that I think would make excellent video games. Now, I'm not exactly qualified to talk about this in this video, but that's nothing new. I'm not really qualified to talk about any of this crap. But the reason for that is I used to play video games a lot, like when I was in like high school, but as an adult, I haven't really played video games very much. I've just been busy with school, and I have 2 kids, and you know, I haven't had time. But recently I have gotten back into video games a little bit. I have a Switch. I've been playing Pokemon Sword, and I just got Animal Crossing, and so video games have been on my mind a little bit. And I thought it would be really fun to go ahead and make a video talking about books that I think would make really cool video games. Now, I know that everybody wants like movie and TV adaptations, but I really think that books have high potential to make really cool video games as well, just because authors spend so much time like creating these worlds and these like class systems and society and world building. And so I think like that there's already so much of the groundwork done that a lot of books could really make really awesome video games. I would love to see more video game adaptations for books. I think that'd be really cool. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my first book. So the first book, and the one that really sparked the idea for this video, is Mistborn. Now, I am not the first person to say Mistborn should totally be a video game, because I think that this book in particular, and this series, really this world, because you could really adapt Era 1 Mistborn or Era 2 Mistborn into a video game. I think that it's really just built in such a way that it would make a really easy video game, I think. Not like easy to play, but like it lends itself to being a video game really nicely. So if you somehow don't know about Mistborn and Mr. Brandon Sanderson, it is a series of books that centers around a magic system called allomancy. So with allomancy, what people who can use it do is they ingest different types of stones, I think, or like different types of like rocks, like copper and gold, maybe. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've read it. Steel, different things like that. And when they ingest them, they're able to burn them within themselves to utilize different abilities. Now, each different type of material has like a different ability. So if you burn steel, you can do one thing. If you burn copper, you can do a different thing, and things like that. And so I feel like this book series in particular would just lend itself to being a video game really easily, because like you can just do different button combinations to like burn copper or to burn steel. And then like the world is really cool too, because especially in Era 1, like everything is like covered in mist and ash, and people who can, you know, burn metals, they wear like mist cloaks and things like that. It's super cool. I think that this would be really awesome as a video game. But also, like I said, I think Era 2 would be really cool too. This one is more of like a flintlock kind of thing. They've got, you know, guns and things like that, and I think that could be a really cool video game as well. The books are fantastic, by the way, if you somehow haven't read them or haven't heard about them. The original trilogy is basically like, what if the chosen one lost and the evil ruler person has been ruling for 1,000 years, kind of where the world would be at, and how a group of you know, ruffians band together to try to overthrow this evil emperor who's been over everything for like 1,000 years. It is fantastic. I love the original trilogy, but I actually really love Era 2 as well. I'm so excited that Brandon Sanderson is working on the last book of Era 2. So excited. I love Wax and Wayne, particularly Wayne. Wayne is awesome. But anyway, that is Mistborn, and like I said, I really think this would be an excellent video game. I would love to see an adaptation of it. The second book that I wanted to talk about that I think would make an amazing video game is one that I read this year, and it is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Oh my gosh, this book is fantastic, by the way. If you haven't read this book, I'm sure you've heard of it. If you're watching my channel, there's a good chance that you've heard of John Gwynne and have heard of The Shadow of the Gods. But this book is amazing, and I really think it would make such a cool video game. It is Norse inspired, so there's like Vikings and stuff like that. And basically, this society worshipped these gods that were like different kind of animal gods. There was like the dragon god, there was like the snake god, and things like that. But there was a big war that happened, you know, years and years ago, and the gods were destroyed, they were killed. And now anybody who worships those gods is considered, you know, like an outlaw, a criminal. They're killed. And then the people who are like descendants of the gods, they have abilities based on which god they're a descendant of. So you know, there's different ones. Like I said, there's the snake, there's the rat, there's tons of them, and they have different abilities based on which god they're a descendant of, but they are seen as not being good people, and so a lot of times they become thralls, which are slaves, and they're used by different, you know, like war bands or things like that to accomplish their purposes and treated like crap. But I really think this would be a cool video game. Like I said, there's Viking kind of things and like that. I think it would be very much kind of like a Gods of War kind of game, or maybe even like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think it could be really cool, just because like these characters are super like rough around the edges, they're violent, they're morally gray. I think it really lends itself to like a really intense game. I think it could be a lot of fun, especially like if you're able to play characters that like are descendants of the gods. That could be really cool. But then just like the whole Viking thing in general is pretty awesome. So I think The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne would be a fantastic video game. The next book that I wanted to talk about is one that I'm going to try to bring up in as many videos as possible because I'm obsessed with it, and that is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, or the Greenbone Saga in general by Fonda Lee. If you somehow don't know about the Greenbone Saga, where have you been? Because I mentioned it in a video already. Come on. I'm just kidding. So the Greenbone Saga is a really fantastic fantasy trilogy. The last book is coming out in November, and this book series I think would be really cool because it's kind of like The Godfather plus Asian-inspired culture plus martial arts and magic that is like powered by Jade. So it's kind of similar in that way to Mistborn, because it's like a stone that you wear or like you have on your person that enables you to do different abilities and things like that. But I think this one would be different because of the whole mafia-esque thing. I think it could be really cool, maybe almost like a Grand Theft Auto kind of theme to it maybe, but on top of that, like you could really work your way up in the clan. So how it works is there's like these different clans that are kind of like gangs on this island called Kakon, and there's like different levels. So people who want to join the gangs or the clans, they go to this academy to hone their Jade abilities, and then they enter as like, they're called fingers. They're basically like low-level gangsters, and then they work their way up to fists, which is like kind of a gangster, like a head of a group of gangsters, and then they can work their way up into higher positions as well. So I think it'd be really cool to like enter a clan as a finger and then have to accomplish like different missions to work your way up to being at a higher level in the clan. I think that would be so cool. Plus the Jade abilities are really awesome. The martial arts stuff would be really cool to play through, and I think it would just be a lot of fun. I would love to see a Greenbone Saga adaptation in video game form. The next book that I wanted to talk about is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I read this book last year and I loved it. It was a 5-star for me, absolutely. But I think this would be a really cool video game because of like the setting. So what this book is you follow a character who is called Piranesi. He says that's not actually his name, but that's what people call him. And he lives in a giant house that is his whole world. His whole world is a gigantic like labyrinth house that has like these statues everywhere. There are tons of levels. It goes up really high, and there is an ocean inside of the house that rises and falls, and he's the only person that actually lives there, but there is somebody else in the house named the Other who comes and visits him periodically. So like I said, I think this video game would be really cool because of the atmosphere and like the setting in particular. Just getting to be Piranesi and wandering through the labyrinth, looking at the different statues, trying to avoid the ocean as it rises and falls, and kind of just exploring the mystery behind everything that's going on, because there really is a great mystery at the center of this book. I think it would be so cool to play through this video game. I think it could be really beautifully designed and done, and yeah, I think it'd be a blast. So I would love to see Piranesi as a video game. Come on people. Next up, we have another Brandon Sanderson book because I just couldn't resist. Like, really, all of Sanderson's books could make pretty cool video games, but I think this is a different enough one that I felt fine including it in this video, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. So the third book in this series is actually coming out in November, so if you haven't read these, it's a great time to pick them up. But Skyward is kind of like Top Gun in space. Skyward follows a teenage girl named Spencer who desperately wants to become a pilot and go to flight school. The only problem is her father was also a pilot and he deserted, which meant he was killed. And so this is a particular problem for her because she is seen as like a social pariah. Nobody wants anything to do with her because they know her father was an outcast, but she really wants to be a pilot, and it is so cool because there are really cool ships and aliens and stuff like that. And like I said, I think this would be a really cool game just because I can see like the flight aspect of it being really cool. I think the world and the design of like the aliens and the alien ships and things like that would be really awesome. yeah, I think this would be a lot of fun, and it'd be different from the other ones just because there'd be more like ship aspects to it and like flying and being a pilot and stuff like that. I think that could be really, really cool. The next book, and hear me out on this one, is It by Stephen King. Now, I think this one could be really cool. A few years ago, there was a game called Until Dawn that was really popular. It was like a horror game where you followed like a group of young people who had to like survive in a cabin where there was like a killer trying to kill them and stuff like that. I think you could kind of do the same thing with It, but with Pennywise. It could be really creepy. You could follow the different kids, or like as adults as well, and try to make sure that all of them survive all of Pennywise's shenanigans. I think it could be really good, it could be really scary, and yeah, I think it could be pretty awesome. I would love to see Pennywise in a video game too, because he is freaky as heck. I'm gonna drink some coffee because I'm dying. The next book that I think would make a really cool video game is The Dresden Files by Mr. Jim Butcher. Now this would be a really cool video game because of like the mystery aspect. So Harry Dresden is the only wizard detective in the phone book, and so he goes and he helps the police with like strange cases and things like that. He has different clients who contact him to help him with different supernatural problems and things like that, and he has to use his wizard abilities to solve crimes, basically, as a detective. And I think it could be really cool. Just like the whole wizard detective aspect seems like a lot of fun in a video game. You getting to be Harry, getting to go to crime scenes, and having to use your magic to try to solve these crimes. I think it would lend itself really well to that. And then on top of that, Jim Butcher has written so many books in the Dresden Files, and so they already have like a lot of cases to pull from. Like, I think it would be great. And they like tried to adapt this as a TV show years and years ago, but apparently it sucked and they only had one season, so they botched that. I don't think you should try TV again. I think you should definitely go with a video game for Harry Dresden. It would be awesome. And the last book that I wanted to talk about is kind of a weird one, but hear me out. It is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. So this book follows Lillian, who's a woman who's down on her luck. She's not doing so great, but she sent a letter by her old roommate from college who has twins, and she's also really rich, and she basically says she really needs her help, come quickly. And so Lillian goes to her friend's house, and she finds out that basically the twins have this strange ability where when they get really angry and throw a fit, they spontaneously catch on fire, which is terrifying. As a parent, oh my gosh, I don't know what the heck I would do. But anyway, Lillian decides to take on the task of helping out with these kids, and she basically becomes the full-time caretaker of these spontaneously catching on fire children, while the mother just is rich and does whatever the heck she wants, I guess. I can't remember really. I think this could be a cool game, kind of like in the style of like Diner Dash or a game like that, more like a basic computer game or like a phone app game, instead of like a huge video game. I think how it would work is you would be like a nanny or a babysitter, and you'd have to like get all these different tasks done while also keeping the children happy, and so you'd have to do them all quickly, because if you took too long, the kids would catch on fire and you would lose. I think it could be pretty cool. Not like I said, like a crazy intense video game that has a lot of world building, but just like a really easy, simple game to play. I think it could be pretty fun. But anyway, those are the books that I think would make awesome video games. When I was coming up with the list for this, there were like a ton of books that I thought of, and so I only mentioned about half of them in this video. If you enjoyed this and want me to make a part 2, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely film another one of these with other books that I think would make really great video games. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I upload videos every Tuesday and Friday, and I would love it if you would stick around, subscribe, like the video, leave me a comment, stuff like that. Don't be a stranger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!